Hi, and welcome to this online video workshop which is called How to Sleep Better. So many people have problems with their sleep, and this is all about really trying to understand a bit more about the different factors, reasons, issues around sleep, and also understand a bit more why sleep is so important, so that you can see that it's really worth investing more effort, more time, and having a better understanding of sleep. So if you're someone who is struggling or does struggle, then obviously I would recommend reading the book as well, How to Sleep Better, because there's much more detail in there. So it's about giving you more information around sleep and hopefully giving you some practical advice which will help you to get more sleep or better quality of sleep and all the positive and beneficial effects that sleep can bring. So in part one, we're going to be looking at what is sleep and why is it so important. So sleep is a necessity. It's often seen as a time when the body is inactive. In fact, the opposite is true. Sleep is an active, essential and involuntary process without which we cannot function effectively. Sleep's not a lifestyle choice. It's a necessity. Sleep is a complex process during which our body undertakes a number of essential activities. Primarily, sleep is for the brain. However, it's also for our whole bodies. In terms of the brain, it will allow it to recover and regenerate. The brain processes information, it will consolidate its memory, enable us to learn and function effectively during the daytime. This is why we are encouraged to get a good night's sleep, say in going for a job interview or for an exam, rather than staying awake and preparing all night long. Whilst we sleep, our brain is not only strengthening memories, but it's also reorganising them. It's picking out emotional details and helping us produce new insights and creative ideas. So what happens to our bodies while we are sleeping? A good way of looking at what happens when we sleep is that we are effectively charging up our batteries, and without sleep our own batteries lose power and eventually go dead. You have to sleep. Sleep's it's extremely important to both our bodies and our mind, and it's when the brain directs the body to heal and repair itself. It rebuilds damaged or worn out tissues and restores chemical balance. When you're awake, the body burns oxygen and food to provide the energy needed, and this is known as the catabolic state, where more energy is spent than conserved, and thus uses up the body's resources. Hormones are very active in this state, but as we sleep, we move into an anabolic state in which energy compensation, repair and growth take over. Your immune system becomes active, producing more proteins and natural killer cells to fight off infections and fight disease, whilst your pituitary gland produces human growth hormone. The growth hormone is much more active whilst we sleep than when we are awake, and promotes growth in children, and is essential for maintaining, repairing and renewing muscles, tissues and bones in adults. Also, the top layer of our skin is made of closely packed dead cells which are shed constantly throughout the day, but during sleep the skin's metabolic rate increases, and as a result our skin is repaired and improves. So the whole phrase getting your beauty sleep is actually fairly valid in this sense. The different stages of sleep. There are actually various different stages of sleep, both what's called REM sleep and non-REM sleep. So REM, rapid eye movement sleep. And throughout a typical night, you'll go through various stages of non-REM, and then you'll have a stage of REM sleep. And it's important to understand some of these different stages. And in the book, it goes into a lot more detail about those different stages, each of which roughly around 90, 100 minutes in length. So understanding the different stages of sleep is important. And if you actually think about it, if you wake up, sometimes you'll wake up, say in the middle of the night, you'll wake up, sometimes you'll feel so groggy and so tired. And other times you'll wake and you'll be okay. Now, that really depends on what type of stage of sleep you are in, as opposed to how deep a sleep or how, or not, as the case may be. So understanding those different stages of sleep is important. But how much sleep do we actually need? Well, this will vary from person to person, and some people will be able to sleep and be perfectly functional and healthy with much less sleep than somebody else. You've also got, and we'll come on to some facts and figures around lengths of the average person, how long they sleep in a minute. But in terms of the general effects of and benefits of good sleep, there are numerous benefits to having good sleep on a regular basis, affecting us in a positive way our physical, mental and emotional health. Physically, good sleep will allow our bodies to grow, repair, rebuild and maintain our cells, tissues, muscles and organs. And our immune systems will function much more effectively, fighting off illness and boosting our defences. Mentally, good sleep will allow our brains to process and store information, improving our memory and making us more alert and able to concentrate and focus better. Emotionally, our moods will be elevated, we will have more enthusiasm and generally be much more positive in our approach to the day ahead. Also, the general effects and problems of insufficient sleep. What are they? There are many effects and potential effects of insufficient sleep or sleep deprivation. Lack of sleep can have serious effects on our brain's ability to function. Even with just one bad night's sleep, you can feel groggy, grumpy, irritable, forgetful, as well as lethargic. You can struggle with concentration, your attention span shortens considerably, whilst your judgment can also be impaired. Additionally, you may eat a worse diet as a result or miss exercise and physical activity opportunities, which then further impacts your health and well-being. With a prolonged period of poor sleep, the issues will get even worse. You will age more rapidly, you'll be more susceptible to colds and flu and infections, other illnesses, and also more susceptible to emotional problems like depression and anxiety. Furthermore, your risk of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and other serious conditions will be increased. You'll be more irritable, have worse judgment, lower concentrations, make poor decisions, and also more likely to cause an accident for yourself or others. So a lot of negative effects of poor sleep, and that's, you really got to look at sleep as being very fundamental to your health. Something called sleep debt is an important thing to be aware of and to consider. So let's say you worked out, or it's been established that 7.5 hours is, you need that on average per night. Now let's say you one night only sleep for 6.5 hours. Now that's an hour less than is ideal for you in your situation. So you've then got an hour's sleep debt. Let's say the next night the same happens. That becomes then 2 hours sleep debt. And you've got to be aware of that build up of sleep debt, and if you can try and get that back as quickly as possible. So let's say it's 2 days, 2 hours. The next night, if you're able to, if you can catch up, say, an hour and have 8.5 hours sleep, then you're putting back that sleep debt. And although it doesn't, there's practicalities involved, and it's unlikely you're really going to be able to recover a lot of the sleep debt in full. It is important to be aware of that, and also recognise that if you're going for several days with less sleep than you require, what you can do about it, and make the effort to do something about it. There's also something around the best performers get the most sleep. There's been studies, research done, that's shown that actually some of the best sports people, some of the best, most successful people in their different fields actually sleep the most. It's almost like they invest in their sleep. If you get good quality sleep, the right amount, more than most people are getting, then actually, rather than being a waste of time or spending all that time sleep, they are able to perform much better. So you can look at sleep also in the sense of it's an investment in your success and your achievements. So really focus on getting as much as you can, and don't see it as something that's kind of a waste. A lack of sleep can cause accidents. It can cause accidents for yourself, for other people. A high proportion of road traffic accidents is due to tiredness and lack of sleep. It could be you make poor decisions, your judgment's impaired, you react differently, you react in a more negative way, you say something, you do something. There's lots of knock-on damaging effects as a result of poor sleep, that tiredness, not being able to function to your full abilities. So again, thinking about how important it is and then what effects it has on your life and the people in your life, and the risks created as a result of being tired or not as efficient because of your sleep. And finally here, I just want to mention melatonin. Melatonin is very important with regard to sleep and how that affects you. Melatonin is a hormone produced in the brain's pineal gland and is responsible for the regulation of your body clock. Interestingly, the release of this hormone is largely controlled by the exposure to natural light or lack of it. Melatonin is usually first triggered in the evening, but the hormone continues to be released throughout the hours of darkness that follow, which is when you would normally, for most people, sleep. And the levels of melatonin then drop with the break in daylight, and its production is suppressed until the next evening. Due to its dependence on a person being in a dark environment, melatonin is often referred to as the hormone of darkness. And it's precisely this link between darkness and melatonin which means that it's advisable to keep your bedroom dark and free from light-emitting devices. Research has shown that both melatonin production and deep sleep phases are better maintained in the dark. So making sure that your place of sleep, your bedroom usually, is dark and doesn't have those, doesn't have the lights from devices, from light bulbs, and also natural light from outside. Obviously, depending on where you live, but say in the UK, in the summer it gets bright very, very early in the morning, and in winter less so. But it might be that during the summer months you need to black out the natural light coming through, otherwise that will affect the melatonin levels and then your ability to sleep. So just being aware of that is important. I'm just going to go through a few statistics related to sleep, which I think are important, and you may sort of resonate with some of these. So 70% of people in the UK sleep for less than 7 hours a night on average. Now, we often hear about 8 hours of sleep is what people need, and generally speaking, that's probably closer to the mark. But it shows that most of us get less than we would want to have or we need to have to be at optimal levels. So 70% of people in the UK sleep for less than 7 hours. Over 40% of people get less than 6 hours per night on average. 34% get only between 5 and 6 hours. So over a third of us only get between 5 and 6 hours of sleep on average per night. And that is an issue. Some people will be okay on that amount, but most people won't be. They'll have all those knock-on effects and consequences of poor sleep. 27% of people in the UK say they sleep poorly on a regular basis. So not just every now and then something occurs or just a bad night's sleep, but on a regular basis, over a quarter of people, 27%, sleep badly. 54% of women and 40% of men say that stress and worry keeps them awake at night. Stress and worry, and we'll come on to this, is usually the most common reason for poor sleep or lack of sleep on a regular basis. The average Briton, they go to bed at about 11:15 and sleep for 6 hours 35 minutes per night. So the average amount of sleep is 6 hours 35 minutes. And obviously that's a lot less than the 8 hours that's generally seen as the optimum amount. Also, one last fact here, 37% of people in the UK snore, twice as many men as women. That's a lot of people, which snoring in itself can mean poor quality of sleep for the person snoring, but also if there's a partner, that can have an effect as well. So snoring, is a big issue, and that will be looked at. It goes into more detail in the book around snoring and sleep apnea, and also around your weight often being an issue there as well. Part 2, why don't we sleep enough? Lots and lots of reasons, factors, issues, circumstances, which mean that a lot of people don't sleep as well as they would like to sleep. So I think it's important to recognise the difference between a temporary sleep issue and a chronic sleep problem. So, if you have got a chronic sleep problem, that means it's a long-term issue, a long-term factor, as opposed to something that's temporary, as a direct result of something, and it's for, it might be a few days, even a few weeks, but there are differences between having a temporary problem and a chronic problem. Our 21st century lifestyle, the hectic pace, the stresses, the strains, the responsibilities, the pressures, the expectations, but also the gadgets, our phones, our iPads, our TVs, computers, computer games, laptops, all these different gadgets and technology and elements and pressures and all this stuff. 21st century lifestyle often provides things that will affect and affect our sleep and cause issues and problems in that respect. Anxiety and general anxiety, people worrying about things, being anxious about things, playing on their mind, going over and over it, and particularly at night, when you're lying in bed and these thoughts and things get triggered and then they get snowballed, and it's an issue and a problem. And for most people, that anxiety or a specific worry issue, whether it's a work issue, a personal issue, a relationship issue, a money issue, lots of different things that will basically mean your brain, you can't switch off, and the more you think about it, the worse it gets, and other things come into play and it builds, and then you're aware that you can't sleep, and then that has an effect, and then you start worrying about you're going to be tired the next day and how you can't sleep, and it builds and builds. So anxiety, worrying, also stress, different things, different elements going on in your life that cause these issues, that will, for a lot of people, have a big impact on their sleep, which then further creates other issues, unfortunately. Depression, one of the symptoms of depression can be poor sleep or lack of sleep. Also, poor sleep and lack of sleep can increase your chances of having depression as well. So getting that understanding and balance there. And there's no doubt that the better you sleep, you're able to deal with any depression, manage it better or prevent it. And also, if you're able to tackle or treat or manage depression, you're going to be more likely to sleep better. Insomnia, people with insomnia, that will needs to be understood and work out what the real issues are and what they can do about it, and look for expertise and the right advice and help, and not just have to literally suffer with it continuously. There's also narcolepsy, people who are able to just fall asleep at different circumstances, situations, and that issue as well is all part of this. Snoring, we've mentioned, there's quite a high rate of people snoring. That not only affects the partner, but affects the person itself in terms of the quality of sleep. Sleep apnea can actually be very serious, when you actually stop breathing while you're sleeping, and not only the poor quality of sleep, but the potential risks and dangers involved in that as well. People with nightmares, everyone at different times has a bad dream or a nightmare, but some people will have this much more often, and it's understanding what is causing that, what's going on there, can they address those underlying factors or issues. Nobody wants to have a nightmare, and that can affect sleep, and if they become ongoing, again, a big issue. Teeth grinding, a lot of people will have an issue with teeth grinding, which not necessarily would affect their sleep so much, but perhaps their partner, and they can hear that, and that again causes the issues. Delayed sleep phase disorder, DSPD. Restless leg syndrome. Actually, a lot of people suffer with this, where effectively their legs are moving and shaking and causes issues that prevents them from sleeping. There's a lot of different elements and factors, and a lot of people might think it's just them, and the chances are it won't be. There'll be a lot of people experiencing very similar conditions, and I think all too often people just sort of think, oh, I've got to put up with them. They just accept it, put up with it. But actually, if you do the research, if you find the explanation, get the right advice, get the right treatments, a lot of these conditions can be addressed. And realising how important sleep is, it's worth making that effort. You know, going to the doctor, going to the experts, doing the research, investing in whatever it might be. There are various health problems that directly and indirectly are caused by poor sleep, lack of sleep. You know, we've talked about how sleep is so crucial for your brain and your body to repair itself, to regenerate cells, to boost your immune system, etc. And a lot of your people's health problems are either improved or worsened as a result of what sleep they get. Your weight. People who are overweight will tend to sleep worse. You know, the snoring, the sleep apnea, the moving around, the overheating, various aspects. So your weight can play an important part in your sleep. But also, if you're not sleeping well, you're going to have less energy. You're going to be less active. You're going to comfort eat more. You're going to do less stuff, and your weight will. You know, there is a correlation between sleep and weight. Physical pains and injuries that can, cause issues with sleep. You know, if you've got an injury or pain where every time you move, you wake up, you can't sleep. That will all have an impact, whether that's a temporary thing or a much longer term issue. So being aware of how injuries and physical pains in that respect affect your sleep is important. Your bed, your mattress, your duvet, your covers, your sheets, your pillows, all these things play an important role. And a lot of people won't place enough emphasis on this. They won't take the time or invest the money to get the right mattress for them, the right size bed, the right pillows, duvets, blankets, etc. Also, sleep hygiene in the sense of washing your sheets, cleaning your sheets, having fresh linen, all those aspects as well. They play a role. Take some time, take some effort, invest some money in these aspects, and it can make a big difference. Food and drink, when you eat, what you drink, when you drink, all these things, again, will have an impact on your sleep. Whether it's alcohol related, whether it's drinking before you go to bed, so you might wake up during the night, the toilet, whether it's the food and how your digestion system and all these different elements, take some time to understand and think about how you can improve your sleep with regard to this. Noise, temperature and light. Obviously, if things are noisy, whether it's in your house or on your street or in your close by, what can you do about reducing the noise? Also with noise, actually, sometimes some sort of white noise or background noise can be beneficial to help you sleep. So think about that element too. The temperature, very important. Whether you're too cold or too hot. Usually too hot is a problem. So making sure that the room is at the right temperature, the duvet or the blankets are okay. And just being aware of temperature plays a huge role in your sleep, both too high, too low, etc. And do what you can to make sure that is the optimal temperature for you, if you can. And the light, we talked about melatonin, so your light, making sure that your bedroom is dark. You don't have this artificial light, electronic light or natural light coming in. You use lights to the natural light, block it out, or to wake up. You can get those lights that come on gradually to help in terms of waking up. So just be conscious of these different elements and how that may affect you or not. Your pets, a lot of people will have pets, dogs and cats, and no matter how much they love them and want them around, they can cause issues. Getting a cat meowing all night long, or a dog barking at the door, or something like that. Just be aware of, is that an issue for you? Is that a problem? And then what you can practically do about it. Stimulants, particularly things like nicotine, smoking, and caffeine is an obvious one. But various drugs and foods and drinks, etc., that act as stimulants and therefore will not help you sleep. Do not have caffeine in the evening or even in the afternoon for a lot of people. Just being aware of what things will act as stimulants, which will then impact on your sleep. A lack of routine. Generally humans love routine. They like routine, but when it comes to sleep, routine is absolutely key. Going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, getting your body clock used to that, the circadian rhythm, the routine is really, really important. So if you're, a typical week, one night you're going to bed at 10, then it's midnight, then it's 10:30, then it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and it's moving different times about. You're not going to give yourself your best chance of getting a good night's sleep. Try and get into a routine as much as you can. Going to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time, and let's say, weekends. A lot of people will say, "All right, I'm going to have a lie-in at the weekend." Yes, that's a nice thing to do. It could be beneficial, but also be aware that if you then have a lie-in, your chances are you're going to not be able to get to sleep the next night, and that will have an effect the next day. And then when it's Monday again, you're going to go in with very poor sleep, and that will have a knock-on effect. Jet lag. If you do travel, and there is issues of jet lag, then look at what you can do to try and reduce that, the issues with jet lag and the travelling, and so that it doesn't have such a long, prolonged knock-on effect. Sometimes you just don't feel tired. Then okay, that's fine. You've got to listen to your body. You've got to, to a large degree, do what your body wants to do. But try and understand, why is it you're not tired? Is it because perhaps you haven't done much exercise or activity during the day? Have you been quite lethargic, haven't done much, so you haven't worked your body up, so you need the sleep? Or, have you had really good sleep recently? Or is it, what are the factors as to why you're not tired? It could just be a one-off thing, or it could be a regular thing. But quite often, it's because if you don't feel tired, it's because you haven't really done much during the day. If the more you do during the day, the more likely you are to feel tired and go to bed at an appropriate time. Children and your partner, especially children and young children, that will almost certainly have an impact on your sleep. So it's trying to manage that in the best way possible. Making sure that you're doing all the right things as a parent, but also recognising that sleep is important. You have to make compromises and sacrifices, and with your partner, what is going to work best. And if it's your partner, then the right size bed, the right sort of temperature, if there is issues with snoring or movement or teeth grinding, all these different things, it might be that you decide that for a period you have separate beds, separate rooms, etc., just to make sure that other things aren't affected in a bad way, a negative way, because of sleep problems. Shift work. A lot of people, especially in recent years, there's more and more shift work in this sort of 24/7 society we live in. So, it's important to people to understand, get into the routine and be able to sleep at the right times and getting that your body clock in line with the shift work. And also understanding the melatonin issues and the natural light issues. So, people who do shift work, it can be really, really difficult. But again, you might have to put in that extra bit of effort, extra bit of research or understanding. And then finally here, habit and expectations. A lot of people who have sleep issues, sleep problems, they expect to have it. They go to bed expecting not to go to sleep. They talk about, oh, I can't sleep, or I'm never going to be able to sleep, and it's almost a habit, an expectation that they're going to have sleep issues and sleep problems. I would suggest what's gone is gone. Look at your situation, your circumstances, try to understand the issues, try to understand it, but there'll always be something you can do which is going to help. And try and work out what the issues are, what you can do about it, invest that time, invest that effort, be patient. Okay, part 3, how can we sleep better? So this is all around ideas, suggestions, advice, things to think about in terms of how you can sleep better and improve the quality and potentially quantity of your sleep. So first of all, invest in better sleep. Realise how important it is, directly and indirectly, to your health, happiness, well-being, and then invest that time, that effort, the money in what you can do to help yourself sleep better. Stop struggling. A lot of people with sleep issues, they'll be on their mind all the time. They'll be aware of it, they'll be thinking about it, they'll be worrying about it, struggling with it and almost fighting against it. Probably the best advice is to go, okay, I've got these sleep issues, sleep problems, what can I do about it? Let's look to understand it. Let's look to do different things, try different elements, and not struggle with it, but look to find the solutions to it as opposed to fighting against it. Reduce anxiety. Try to understand if you are someone with anxiety, or you worry a lot and you're thinking about things all the time and have difficulty switching off. Try to understand what anxiety is, what you can do about it, how you can rationalize things and think about that particular issue in a mature, rational, sensible way, not get perspective on it. CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, is becoming more and more common, and more people are using CBT for depression, for anxiety, for stress, but also in terms of sleep. And it's been shown that if people do CBT and understand it and practice and develop it, then actually that's one of the most one of the best ways of dealing with sleep, and it's one of the most effective treatments. Look to try and relax and wind down. Try to reduce that stress, manage it, reduce that anxiety, wind down. So when you're going to bed, particularly the last hour, look to sort of put in place things which are going to slow you down, wind down, relax you, so that you go to bed calm and relaxed, as opposed to loads of things buzzing in your head, going around, etc. Because it makes sense. You're much more likely to get to sleep if you're relaxed and calm. So that last hour before you go to bed, before you go to the room, just do various things just to wind down and focus on looking forward to the sleep, and try to stop thinking about all the stuff that's going on during the day, all the stuff you've got to do tomorrow, all those different things. There are some specific sleep exercises you can do, sort of meditation, visualization, various different things you can do. And in the book, there's some of the suggestions there. Your bedroom. Look at your bedroom in terms of it's the place to sleep. Try to declutter it from other things. Try not to have other stuff going on in the bedroom. Use that as a place to sleep. Obviously, there are other things you can do in the bedroom, but in terms of your sleep, really focus on that. So work stuff, try and get rid of work stuff, other bits and pieces going on. Focus on it being a place for sleep primarily. The air quality in your room, try to make sure there's fresh air, have windows open, doors open, when appropriate. So just make it airy and not stuffy. A lot of people, their rooms are all closed off and concentrated, inwards, and you go in and there isn't that fresh air and that airiness. So, air quality is important. So just make sure, again, your whole bedroom is the right environment for sleep. Write things down. That's a really good way of helping to reduce stress, anxiety, but also, let's say in the middle of the night, you wake up with something on your mind, or you're lying there not being able to sleep because of things that are going on. Have a notepad and pen by the side of your bed, and so you can write things down if needed. So it's not on your mind. You can be happy that, okay, I've written that down, I'll come back to that tomorrow, rather than keep going over it. That's quite a useful thing to do. Just have a pen and paper near your bed, just in case there's some things that come up. Also, write a sleep diary. If you are someone who has struggled and is struggling with sleep, make notes of how, when you went to bed, when you got up, how much sleep did you have, when did you wake up, what things were you thinking about, what do you think the reasons were you didn't sleep, good nights, bad nights. And over a period of time, you'll start to establish different patterns, potentially different factors, different reasons, and it'll give you a better understanding. And if potentially you need to go to a doctor or a sleep lab, then that will be very useful information. There are things you can get, like sleep-inducing scents, that may work. No harm in trying it. So different oils or potions and scents that have been shown, or they imply that it can help with sleep. So have a go, have a try with those. Visualize yourself feeling sleepy, to try and get into that sort of thought process and visualization where you are sleepy, and it's almost like hypnotizing yourself to sleep. Try these different things out. They may work, they may not. You've got nothing to lose by it. Look to refocus on something else. So if you're there and you'll focus on a particular issue that isn't helping, is playing on your mind, that is stopping you from sleeping, preventing you from sleeping, see if you can refocus on something else, to switch it to something hopefully more positive. And there's things you can do. For example, like let's say you go to a gym and you can visualize the gym, and then you start thinking about what exercises you're going to do and different equipment, and work your way around the gym. Or it could be, let's say you're packing for a holiday, so you're something positive, something relaxing, and you're just thinking of all the things you need for the holiday, the different clothes, the different shoes, the bags, different things, and just focus on something else which is sort of more relaxing, more positive, but something you can just go through and focus on. And that should, or rather it could work, take your mind off the other thing that's causing the issue. Think about solutions rather than problems. If you are thinking about all these different things going on, try and, rather than focus on the problem and all that, look at the solution. Be productive with it. You may want to consult your doctor, especially if it's been going on for some time and you've looked at different areas and things aren't working. Consult your doctor, have a chat. They may be able to offer some really good advice or some help, or there might be other issues that are actually the cause or having an effect that you haven't considered. And it might be that medication will help. Maybe in the short term, for some people, medication will be the right thing to do. It might be very helpful, but again, have that discussion with the doctor and understand and research and think about it. You need to be careful with the medication in terms of becoming dependent upon it and some potential side effects. But and you may not be addressing the underlying issues, but don't rule that out. There's also herbal remedies you can get over the counter that it's worth trying. Look into it, try it out. It may help. Your bed, your mattress, your duvet sheets. We talked about this before, but they are really, really important. Invest time. Is your bed big enough? is your mattress firm enough, or is it too firm? Do you have nice, clean, fresh sheets? And the duvet, is it too warm? Is it too cold? Is it okay? All that sort of stuff. Take some time to think about it, and then spend the money if necessary. Because sleep is so important to your health and has such knock-on effects. It's got to be worth the investment. Temperature, the room temperature, the bed temperature, potentially partner, and be aware of what you can do to get the right temperature for yourself so you sleep better. The light we've talked about, so keeping it dark, having blackout blinds if necessary, and just being aware of what works for you in terms of the light. Exercise. The more exercise you do, more active you are, in general, you're going to sleep better because you're going to be tiring your body out, so it then wants to rest and repair. So, people who exercise and are more active will generally sleep a lot better. So try to increase your exercise, increase your physical activity. You'll get loads and loads of benefits from doing that, but also it will help with your sleep. Food and drink, it does play a part. So just be aware of the food and drink and how that will affect your sleep, and when you eat and drink. And with alcohol, a lot of people will use alcohol for different reasons, but one of them would be to try and sleep. Now, everyone's different and has different effects, but be really careful. If you're looking to use alcohol as a way of helping you sleep, then that's a dangerous place to go. And often, and for most people, it won't be beneficial. Actually, it will cause either poor quality sleep or other issues or broken sleep. So really try to avoid that if possible. Your sleep positions, it might be working out what position is best for you to sleep in, whether it's on your back or your front, on your side, and sort of fetal position. What works for best for you, particularly in terms of getting off to sleep. Usually the issue is actually getting off to sleep in the first place. Once you're asleep, for most people, then you'll stay asleep. It's getting off to sleep in the first place. So what is the right position for you to get into, and try and get into that same routine. So you basically become that becomes the normal position for you to sleep in. Sounds. We talked about obviously noise. Different noises are going to have an effect on sleep, but white noise can be a good thing. Having some background noise, and you can get different apps and sounds that may be effective. So try it out. Nothing to lose. The snooze button. How many of us have a snooze button on our phones or our alarm clocks, and we press it and then we press it again and we press it again? I would suggest trying to get out of that routine. Possibly one snooze, but no more, because you're not sleeping properly. If you're every 8, 9, 10 minutes being woken up by an alarm, in that time you are not sleeping properly. You're not getting quality sleep. It's not effective. You're basically just wasting time, and you'll probably feel more tired as a result. So I would suggest either getting up on the first alarm straight away, or possibly one snooze. But if you're in that situation where several snoozes later and you're still pressing that button, then you've got to understand that is not beneficial for you at all. Sleep apps, various different apps you can get on your phone or computer or different gadgets. Have a look, research, see what ones are out there, what you can do. Some that will monitor how much you sleep, how well you sleep, to varying degrees of how greater technology is used. You'll also get traditional sleep monitoring, which might be done at a sleep lab, for instance, where they'll do a lot more in-depth kind of monitoring of your sleep, potentially with cameras and various things all over your body, and it can give you a real insight. If you are having problems, you've got to look at all the different potential solutions and opportunities to help you sleep better. So don't rule anything out, try different things and get the right advice or expertise if necessary. finally, part 4. Just as a summary, I think it's really important you understand how important sleep is for your health and all the direct benefits in terms of your brain, your body, your tissues, your organs, your joints, all these physical benefits, and emotionally and mentally how you feel. If you have good sleep, you will feel more energized, more positive, you'll be more productive, you'll want to do more things, it will have such a good benefit to you in so many ways. And the opposite is true of bad sleep. You will have physical effects, health effects, emotional effects. You're more likely to develop certain conditions, issues, be grumpier, grouchier, you'll be more worried about things, and it will get just build and build and build. So it's such a contrast between good sleep and bad sleep. But there are so many things you can do to improve your sleep and think about. And everyone's different, but work it out for yourself. Read the book, read the How to Sleep Better book. There's lots more information in there. Speak to different people, get expertise if you need to, but do not underestimate how important sleep is. If it means buying a new bed, if it means getting some blackout blinds, if it means spending some time with your partner in separate rooms, if it means making sure the dog's locked downstairs until later in the morning, lots of different things you could do which is going to help you to sleep better, which will mean you're healthier and happier and your well-being is better. I would also look at the other books in the series and the different videos, and you can find out all the information on the cymhealth.org website. There's the Facebook groups, and obviously you can get in touch by email. But I really hope that you do sleep better, and don't struggle with it. Look at what you can do as opposed to what you're not able to do. And I hope you sleep well, and thank you.